Welcome to the most incredible marketing show ever. The show where each week a panel of respected marketing strategists, all trained and certified by the legendary Dan Kennedy, share their wisdom, experience, strategies, and insights on how to use Dan Kennedy's philosophy on business and marketing in any type of business, and that you can apply to your business immediately. Here's your host, Craig Valine.
Hello there, this is Craig Valine, and this is the most incredible marketing show ever. Another episode that appears every Thursday, and so glad to be here. Along with me is my expert panel of independent business advisors for Dan Kennedy and Bill Glazer. We are here to share our wisdom and our experience with Dan Kennedy and the things we've experienced ourselves and share with other people. We were just having an offline discussion about who is our ideal target market, who we appealing to. And that goes right into today's topic about building your customer avatar. So, Becky, what is an avatar?
Yeah, so it's a detailed profile of an ideal customer. And that can be demographics, and that can be psychographics. And Dan was always one to talk about the psychographics, which was what are their interests, what are their values, what are their buying behaviors, right? So in demographics, I think everybody kind of knows where do they live, what do they drive, what do they read, that type of a thing. So once you figure that out, then you can talk directly to that person like they're just one person, which will in turn get you a better response with whatever that is, whether it's a video that you put together, copy that we just talked about last week, or anything that you write to talk to that one customer avatar.
So, Ben, why is it crucial for a business to speak to one person at a time?
I think one of the most crucial things is to really be able to connect with that person to the point where the person you're talking to thinks, man, this person must have been reading my diary because they know my struggles. They know, kind of the things that are keeping me up at night. And by developing a series of avatars, for one, it really helps. Like in our last episode, we talked a lot about copywriting. It really helps focus that copywriting. So when you are writing your headline, you're writing it to a specific person, to a specific avatar. And that kind of focus also branches out into other areas, like picking the medium that you're using for that ad, because that's where that avatar exists. And so it really brings this abstract concept of, I need to be, instead of giving this message about my product or service, it really makes that very concrete. Like, I am telling so-and-so about this product. I'm telling Alice about this product because you developed this avatar and you've given her a name and a backstory and all of the things that go around with really getting into their life situations, that you can get their attention because you're thinking about what is keeping them up at night. What are they just doing when their ad is getting to them, and all of the things around that, so that they feel like they feel seen, so they feel like you know what you're talking about because you are talking directly to them.
Yeah, I belong to an organization that helps other people, and one of the things that we do is we tell our story, and the response that we want from that other person is, me too. Yeah, I've experienced that as well. So, Mark, walk us through the process of conducting research and developing detailed customer personas.
Sure, no problem. And the thing that Ben just said that I loved was the word attention, because that's essentially all we're doing here when we're trying to research and get our customer avatars. What's going to really grab their attention, so it doesn't just go in one ear and out the other. I know a few episodes ago, Mike Capuzzi was saying how Dan got his attention with something that he read in the newsletter, and Mike's like, man, is he talking to me? But that got his attention, and that's why he's not going to forget that article that he read. So yeah, really digging into your customer avatar. I always ask a client, like, who is your ideal client? Who is the absolute best client that you have that you would really want more of. And then you go into, as Becky said, you get into the psychographics of that person, and who are they? Where can we find more of them? Where do they congregate? Think in terms of that. One of the coolest things that I heard from Perry Belcher, he mentioned, when you think about the psychographic or the demographic of your customer avatar, how old are they? And, what is their age? And what he did was gave that customer avatar a name. So he would take somebody, he would take like the age of that person, find out what year, that person would have been, born, or what year would they have been in high school? Find out what that is. And then you can actually take those years, whatever the relevant year is, and you go find out what was the most popular names of the boy or the girl of the birth year, and then you can give that avatar a name. So now you actually have somebody that you could speak very specifically to, and you can kind of know, as if that person is a human, know what their hobbies are, their likes, their dislikes, what they stand for and what they stand against. And you could speak a lot more specifically to them, so that when people read it, that's like that, that flag. This is for me.
Yeah. So, Mike, how do knowing your customer avatar enhance marketing effectiveness?
Well, I think everyone just kind of alluded to it in different ways. It's just about that personalized me to you. Mark's talking to me, and the more everything is focused, the more everything's personalized, the more everything feels relevant to me and my pains and my issues. It gets you that much further, because again, all of this, it's not just one thing. It's a lot of things we have to do to be effective. And it just gets you that much further down the pathway to whatever the conclusion is you're looking for: a sale, a raising of your hand, whatever. So yeah, I mean, this is deep stuff we're talking about.
Yeah.
And it's, a lot of people can really get in the weeds, but it's important. It's really important. And I'm sure everybody remembers, and I'll just remember Dan would always talk about, I think it was Rick Scott, or The Purpose-Driven Church. Remember that book? The Purpose-Driven Church.
Rick Warren, sorry. And in there, this is a book for marketing for churches to learn how to market, which is essentially what they have to do because they have membership. And he would remember he had the avatars. He literally had something like he had pictures of the people and then a description of each person that his church was trying to bring into the congregation. So I remember Dan always showing that off. I bought a copy. I scanned the photos of that and used them in workshops. But if you go look at that, it's a great example of how a church uses avatars. Another great book for that is Ben Gay's book, The Closers. If you guys remember that one, he has a lot of different buying avatars in there, and it downright got nationalities and race, and it's a very fascinating book, The Closers.
Yeah, that is a great book. He's on Facebook, by the way. You can friend him, and he's very open to it.
Yep. He's very chatty.
Dan, Dan Kennedy tells us you are not your customer, but tell us when that's not the case, or so the benefit of niche marketing, affinity marketing.
The more you can become your customer, I think the better off you are. The more you can get to know them. And so, for example, I work with a niche, is the auto repair niche. I work with other groups too, but that's where I started, in the auto repair niche. I was in that business. And the more you can get to know them, the better. The deeper you can get to know them, the better it will help you for your marketing. For example, and Ben talked about this a little while ago, I was talking to a shop owner, trying to sell him a $25,000 marketing program. And at one point I went through a few things with him, and he goes, "Oh my God, I feel like you've been sitting in my office for the last week." Boom. There it is. That's what you want to try to accomplish. And the more you know about that, I was able to talk about things that were that he related to right away. Just like Ben said, if that's how they feel, this guy gets me. Okay. And that's who they want to do business with. But the more you know, the deeper you can get. So in a previous episode, we talked about trying to market without competition. So and again, you got to know your avatar. I'll give you one example of cigar manufacturers learned that a lot of guys who play golf, and this was true earlier, but not as much now, they like to have a cigar when they play golf. Okay. A lot of them don't smoke cigars other than when they play golf. They started advertising in golf magazines, and it was tremendously successful. There was no one else there, but because they learned a little bit more about their avatar. And I'll give you one more example. When I had an event that I had for repair shop owners. One of the things that I stumbled upon, I knew, but I never thought about it, was a lot of them, for whatever reason, ride motorcycles. A high percentage of them, not all of them, but probably 75% of them. So I themed my event around Harley Davidson and a lot of their marketing. And I even had a couple of Harleys in the event, in the room. Okay. And a lot of guys came for that reason. They came with their leather jackets on. During breaks, they would go up and sit on the bikes and get pictures taken. So I kind of hit a home run there because I knew the avatar a little bit better. All right. And so I think the more you can kind of become your customer, and I agree with that, you're not your customer. For a long time, I wouldn't use voice broadcast because I didn't like getting voice broadcast. Okay. But then it was brought to my attention, you're not your customer. I used it and it was tremendously successful. And so you can't create your marketing based on yourself, but the more you can become your customer, the more you understand them, the more details you know about them, the more successful I believe your marketing will be to them.
Yeah, I work with a vendor to the concrete industry, and he would always say, well, they don't like that. They don't like that. They don't like that. And I'm like, how do you know they don't like that? Because he didn't like that. I don't like direct mail. But direct mail will get to 180 people that email will not, or that otherwise would not, right? So, one of the things that I had to do to be his marketing guy was be his voice, and to go to World of Concrete, to read all the magazines, to go to all the sites, to watch all the videos, to go on deliveries to him, to yards, to see how the ready mix plants work and all that stuff. And now when I wrote in his voice, I could speak that language. I could understand that. And we found out we were not dealing with the drivers of the ready mix trucks or even the purchaser. We were dealing with the mechanic who had to install all the products on the back of the trucks and everything. And that only came through interviewing and talking about who does this, and who makes that final decision. And he goes, well, I do. I make the decision, and I go into the buyer, and then the buyer does it. The buyer does what I tell him to do, So again, when sometimes we think we're talking to the right person, but we're not. Who's the economic buyer, right? Who's the real person who's going to spend the money? And that's really where the results come from.
The wide world of concrete. Bum, 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 bum.
But hey, there's an idea. Steve, you talk about when an example that you might have experienced with or without a client, with yourself or something, about not having your client avatar down pat.
Well, I'm going to give an answer that you might not be expecting, but I think that's a fantastically great thing. And I'll tell you why. In the old days, and we talk about a lot of what's been talked about here, direct mail, where we had to go out and select the list. We had to know what car they drive, or it was good to know that kind of stuff. How old they are, what income they make, do they own a dog, what religion, all that stuff. Today, thanks to AI, in the guise of Facebook, for instance, Facebook, everyone knows they know more about us than we know about ourselves. So when I work with a client and myself, I focus on the problem, like people have talked about, the problem that they have, not who they are, how old they are, how much money they make. That's old school. If I'm going to do direct mail, I got to know that stuff. If I'm going to throw up an ad on Facebook, like I help coaches and consultants fill their programs. I just focus on coaches and consultants who are struggling to find clients. So my very broad avatar is coaches and consultants, and I'll let Facebook find them because my ad says, are you having trouble getting clients in different ways? And then Facebook will find them. So a beautiful thing now is you can get started with a very broad avatar and let the AI of Facebook take over. And believe me, Facebook wants to take as much of our money as possible. They want people responding to their ad. So they're going to show that ad to people who are responding. As soon as they get some response, they'll show it to more people that are like that. However, they feel they're like that. I don't have to choose who I think is going to respond in a very specific way. Facebook will do that. And then once I get the customers or clients, then I can do like what Mark was talking about and interview them or get to know them or find out what makes them tick. Then I can start to use other methods. But a great starting point right now is don't have to choose all this zero in on everybody so specifically if you want to leverage the power of Facebook's AI to find them for you.
Very good. We have to take a quick break for a message from our sponsor. We'll be right back.
This episode of The Most Incredible Marketing Show Ever is sponsored by Ben Thole at marketingfunnel.com. Marketingfunnel.com empowers coaches and experts to scale their businesses with effective marketing automation. To get a free copy of their marketing automation playbook to transform your strategies, go to marketingfunnel.com. Now, back to our show.
All right. Who have I talking? Richelle, darling. Say we're doing a direct mail campaign and we want to target our client avatar. Talk about mailing lists to the best of your ability.
Sure, I'd love to.
Well, there are good lists and there are bad lists, and
Absolutely.
there are things to do and things not to do.
And I've bought a whole bunch of bad ones. And bad is relative, right? Because it's not that when we sent it out, when we called out who we wanted, we got our appropriate customer. It was just that 20 to 25% of the names just weren't good. So, like the USPS has Every Door Direct right now. So I have a client who he does custom basketball courts for backyards, right? And the majority of people that have enough land in their backyard in Las Vegas, because, now that we've got a basketball team and a baseball team coming and a football team and the Super Bowl's there and all the backyards keep getting smaller and smaller. And so with Every Door Direct, he can just pick a zip code and it works, right? So you can have a list that as sophisticated as their last time that they bought, the most recency, what they bought, how they buy, their average ticket size. Is it $50? Is it $1 million? Right. And you can have it as generic as, look, just give me those folks that live in 89004. And you can pick it that way, which makes it, 10 times easier. And so I think what happens with most business owners, and here's the challenge that when they're marketing, is that they read like 2 marketing books and they think they know it. Am I lying? You guys are laughing because like this happens, right? And they're like, yeah, I need people who, and my favorite Dan Kennedy story is a one-legged midget hopping on one leg. That's who I want to target, right? And it's like, oh God, they're not midgets anymore. We call them little people. And you cannot say that, right? But it's like, yes, you can find whoever you want to. It's about how much money are you going to spend to find them. And sometimes, especially with the size of the businesses that normally contract us, right? Like, yes, we've worked with people who've done, 10, 20 million, but most of the time it's people who work with me between 250,000 and 10 million, right? We don't have to be that sophisticated in their list. And a lot of times they have a list. We can find a lookalike list based on who their customers were and go from that. I know that my good friend Mike Capuzzi is looking for a list right now for one of his great clients. And, with that, he wants to be a little bit more specific because he knows what's going on in their life. So Mike, how have you had some fun looking for that list?
I'm still looking. but they're there. I mean, was it SRDS, right? Remember SRDS, Standard Rate and Data Service? It was a huge catalog that came out, and you can get a list on anything. So that one-legged small person, there's probably a list of them, Richelle.
Yep. I bet that they are.
But to your point, Richelle, it's also very interesting. You're right. There's a lot of businesses where, I love the comment of, I thought you were going like, I read a book, so now I need to go create customer avatars. And again, this is important, but it's a lot of people, do that, and then 2 weeks later they forget about it and they go do something else. But I think the idea is I always say, who's your who? It's just knowing who your who is when you are writing an email, coming up with something. And and oftentimes for a lot of types of businesses, it may not have to be super, focused. But there are times when going very deep into a very specific market makes sense. So,
and the ROI is there, right? Like it gives you way better results.
Absolutely.
And that's what we're always looking for. It's the results, period. Damn it. Right. It's just the results. And so, all the time it's, does this make sense for my business? And the reason why I think people seek us out, is so that they can bounce it up. Like, does that make sense? Like, is what I'm doing making sense? And then we can say, no, make a left turn, make a right turn. Like we're not MapQuest where you print it out. Right? We're Google Maps where it's dynamic based on what you tell me.
And I think real quick, Craig, one fundamental takeaway from this episode is chances are you're never marketing to everybody and taking that shotgun. Right. And I think that's the key thing. Like, just don't think I'm marketing to everybody in Las Vegas for what I do. It is this process of trying to get it down and get a little bit more focused.
Joe, we haven't heard from you. So based on what Mike just said, right? Targeting everybody versus targeting a very specific who, why? What are the disadvantages of targeting everybody versus targeting a very specific who?
Basically, Dan Kennedy has a little saying. He says, you don't want to spend all this money on postcards that have a fantastic offer. You get yourself in an airplane with the burlap bags of postcards. You fly over, say, Las Vegas, and you just dump them in the air and let them fly down and just hope it hits somebody that's really interested. Well, you're going to end up, sure, you're going to get your message out there, but not to all the people you want, and you're wasting your money at that point. So you really got to know your avatar and who you're going after.
Thank you. Becky, go ahead. If you were going to comment, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, and when you do know your avatar, like we were looking to possibly purchase another restaurant. And so we put together a letter and addressed their problems. Hey, are you tired of showing up every day wearing 20 different hats? Do you just want to go and retire and live the life of your dreams? Are you tired of trying to hire employees that, never show up? So we hit the hot buttons. We sent out 166 letters targeted to a specific area. And we literally got 16 responses of people who wanted to sell a restaurant. So when you get it right, you will get responses. Like, even I was blown away. So for anybody out there watching, like, if you get normally a 1% to 2% response in sending a direct response letter out there, you're thrilled to get a 1%, maybe 2% response. And we got 16 out of 166 letters. So when you get it right, and when you address those hot buttons that they are experiencing, and you give them a way out, or you give them a way to work with you, then you have it right. You can actually sell. I've considered selling that whole process, because if somebody wants to buy a restaurant, you don't want to go through a business broker, because they all suck. No offense to business brokers, but y'all suck. And you can just do it yourself and save the commish. So I just wanted to say that, because once you get it right, it's like it's like the whole world opens up to you.
Thank you. Steve, from a financial perspective, for the entrepreneur who doesn't have $1 million to use on marketing, tell us why targeted marketing is more effective than marketing to everybody.
Well, I think it's like Joe just said. I mean, if you're marketing to everybody, can you afford that? I mean, I have a client who is a chiropractor with a proprietary method of solving back pain. And I say, who's your ideal client? He said, well, 40% of Americans have back pain, so 40% of people. And it's in Chicago, Illinois, where there's about 8 million people in the area. And I say, can you afford to effectively market to 40% of 3.2 million people? You can effectively market to them. So of course not. So actually what we did, we zeroed in on people that had not had just one failed back surgery, but 2 failed back surgeries. And there were thousands of those people, and they were the ideal target for him. We put together a message, hey, have you had 2 or more back surgeries and they failed? Come to me, I'm going to solve your problem. So when you pick a target that's small and that you can effectively go to, Dan Kennedy calls this farming. He didn't come up with a term, but it's farming. I mean, I could say I grow the world's greatest tomatoes in my little backyard garden. Okay, great, because I can tend to them and I can fertilize them and I can care for them all summer until they become great tomatoes. But if I say, wow, now I want to have 5,000 acres of those, can I alone really have great tomatoes out of 5,000 acres? That'll be a total disaster. So pick a small segment that you can effectively message and market to, and just make sure it's big enough that the money that comes out of it makes you happy. If you need to be Coca-Cola or Budweiser, then I guess you got to pick everybody in the world. But most of us can have many fewer clients and make a really good living and be very happy. So pick a smaller group. You'll be more effective. You'll be more cost effective.
Hey, Steve, was that a call out in the headline, if you've had 2 failed back surgeries, or did you actually get a list?
We got the list.
Wow.
We're getting towards the end of our episode right now. So, Dan, can you share any advice that we might not have covered so far about how to, number one, identify your ideal client avatar and how to use it to your advantage?
Well, so something I wanted to mention in this process is that list, and a lot of people, like Richelle said, read a couple books and figure they got it, and that's part of the reason we exist. Let's be honest about it. Okay, we none of us started doing this 6 months ago or a year ago, and we spent a lot of time and money. But you know, when you go get a list, that's why so many people are frustrated with their marketing. Why so many hate mailing? Because they get lists that don't work. I'll give you an example. I had a client that was a roof repair company, and they wanted me to write a sales letter for them. I said, great, let's talk about the list, where you're sending it to. I needed to know that information. Oh, we have a great list. We've taken care of the list. It's awesome. People have money, so on and so forth. I wrote the letter. They absolutely loved it, thought it was great. They mailed it out, and there was zero response. Zero response. So they came back to me and said, this is terrible. We're not getting, we got no calls. And so I said, let's talk. Tell me about your list. Well, we went to an area of homes where the income was X, Y, and Z, and at least this. So when I dug a little bit deeper, what we found out about the area where they pulled the list from, all the homes were less than 5 years old. How many homes that are less than 5 years old need roof repairs?
Right.
Almost none. And the point is, they never thought about that aspect of it. Okay. And again, that's part of the reason we exist. We would ask those questions. We would dig a little bit deeper into that avatar, if you will, and then use it towards looking for our list. So again, you know, take a little bit of time, maybe get some help. When most people that I ask about an avatar, they need help fettering out the details. Because so many want to go after what people need, but they fail to look at if it's something they can afford. if that list that they're going after, that avatar they're going after, they may need this, but they don't have the income or the wherewithal to buy your product. So why do you even want to go to them?
Right. Excellent. Ben, any last advice that we haven't covered yet?
Yeah, just as you should sit down and think of your avatar of the person that you want as your customer, you should also develop some anti-avatars of people that you don't want, people that you want to run the other way when they see your ad, for a couple reasons. One, for your own sanity, if it's somebody that you're going to be working with and you just know off the top that that's not the type of client that you want, but also it can help having a common enemy also for the people that you are marketing to, when you can call out that this isn't for people that want the path of least resistance, or this isn't for people who are price conscious, or you'll want to think about the copywriting of those things, but in general terms, if you have those anti-avatars, those can be helpful in really refining your message and getting the right market.
Awesome. Becky, last advice? Quick.
I would just say to make sure to test if you're, focusing on millennials, you probably don't want to advertise on Facebook because they're not there. They're over on Snap or Instagram or somewhere else. So, just make sure you have the right message, and how you figure that out is to test that message and then put it in the right place.
Yeah, know where they hang out. Mark, last advice?
Yeah, grab a pen and write this down. When you're really thinking about your avatar and you've got to drill down to that person, you're going to make a list of 5 things. I want you to look at that person. What are their dreams? What is it that they really want? What has caused them to fail in the past? Make a list of their fears. What are they most fearful of as it relates to your offer or your business? What are they suspicious of? Is it the government? Is it a common enemy? To Ben's point. Who are their enemies? Because copywriter Blair Warren put it in, people will connect with, and it's all about connecting with those who will encourage your dreams, justify your failures, allay your fears, confirm suspicions, and help throw rocks at your enemy. And one last thing, more about sales copywriting that should have been in the last episode, is think about what your headline is and are you attracting the right person, or are you attracting, what Ben said, the anti-person that you actually don't want? For example, if you're looking for high-end business owners that are operating at a higher level, you don't put out a headline that says 5 broke person strategies for advertising your business with absolutely no money. Because who are you getting in your room? Because that's your fault.
Yeah. Joe, last advice.
Just research that avatar and get to know who they are and understand what their challenges are. And that's really what it boils down to, and get to the right target.
Good. Richelle, last advice.
Yeah, look, I'm getting a pen. I'm trying to, all right, Mark said it too forcefully.
See what I did there?
That's it. It's just, have a pin for every episode.
Amen to that. Amen. This is a seminar for all of us as much as it is for anybody else listening. So,
Mike, and ask me how I made that mistake before. That's how I got the black eye, making a marketing mistake. So I've made that mistake of saying 5 broke strategies to grow your business with absolutely no money. And guess who I got in the room?
Yeah.
Yep.
Hey, how I recovered from bankruptcy, right? I got all these people. Yeah. Don't say that, by the way, either.
Mike, close us out with the best advice for people that maybe we haven't covered it yet.
Well, watch the show, read Dan Kennedy, and I'm going to include, I'll send it to you, Craig. I have these interactive worksheets for B2C and B2B, men and women, and I did a workshop years ago where I gave these as part of the workshop. So it's an interactive, you fill in the blanks kind of thing, and it's all focused on creating your customer avatar.
Awesome. Wow. All right. Well, this has been another episode of the most incredible marketing show ever. Thank you for watching. Thank you for my expert panel for being here, my independent business advisors, And we come on YouTube and all your popular platforms for listening to podcasts every Thursday. Oh, there's a free gift at the mostincrediblemarketingshowever.com. Go get it. We'll see you next week. Thanks so much.
Thank you for joining us this week on The Most Incredible Marketing Show Ever. New episodes are available every week on Thursdays. To receive a free gift pack from our expert panelists and get access to show notes from previous episodes, be sure to visit our website, www.mostincrediblemarketingshowever.com. If you're watching this on YouTube, please hit the subscribe button and click the bell up in the right-hand corner to be notified of future episodes so you'll never miss a show. While you're at it, if you found value in this show, we'd appreciate you clicking the like button and leaving a comment on what big aha you got during the show. That's it for today's episode. See you next week.